A sharp, chilling scream, like the wail of a lost soul, tore through the peaceful afternoon at Kaziranga National Park, startling Michael Harper, the elephant-loving biologist with disheveled black hair, causing him to freeze mid-thought. Just a moment before, he had been immersed in the rustling of leaves and the steady breath of nature, his eyes quietly observing the herd of elephants from a distance. But now, his heart pounded rapidly. His eyes widened with a mix of astonishment and fear as he realized it wasn't the sound of rain or wind. It was the desperate cry of a creature wrestling with death. Without hesitation, Michael sprinted toward the sound, his feet slipping on the wet ground, his ragged breath mingling with the howling wind through the trees. Each step was an internal battle. He knew time was slipping away, and a single misstep could cost a life. As he neared the swamp, he spotted a baby elephant, just 6 months old, trapped in thick black mud, its round eyes brimming with panic. Its feeble struggles made the mud bubble, as if the swamp were slowly swallowing the tiny creature whole. Around it, the murky water rippled, hinting at unseen dangers lurking beneath. A crocodile, perhaps, or a bottomless pit of mire. The herd of elephants stood not far off, their massive forms shadowy in the red glow of dusk, still as ancient statues. But it wasn't indifference. Their eyes glimmered with pain and helplessness, as if they were witnessing a tragedy they couldn't stop. A mother elephant let out a low, mournful trumpet, a sound thick with despair, yet she didn't dare approach. What could hold such a mighty herd back? A hidden threat in the swamp, or a fate even nature couldn't rewrite? Michael stood there, his breath heavy, clutching his crumpled notebook. He knew the Kaziranga swamp wasn't just mud and water. It was a deadly maze where every step could be his last. But he couldn't turn away. Before him was a life begging for rescue, and behind him, the herd's gaze seemed to rest their final hope on him. What had lured the baby elephant into this lethal trap? Could Michael overcome the dangers to work a miracle, or would he too fall victim to the merciless swamp? Michael decided to name the little elephant Ravi. In Hindi, Ravi means son, a symbol of hope and strength. He hoped the name would bring luck to the tiny creature fighting to survive. Time, Michael knew, was his greatest enemy. The mud pit had become a living snare, the thick sludge rising to Ravi's neck, mere inches from his snout. Each time Ravi struggled, the mud made a sickening sucking sound as if eager to drag him deeper. The Kaziranga swamp, with its treacherous, sodden terrain, was infamous for testing even the strongest creatures. Michael could see the desperation in Ravi's eyes, round, dark, and pleading amid the chaos. But nature wasn't the only threat. A heavy rain loomed, dark clouds blanketing the sky, distant thunder rumbling like a death knell. The first cold, heavy raindrops fell, slicking the ground further. Michael understood that if the storm worsened, the mud pit would flood, submerging Ravi entirely. He glanced at his watch. The seconds raced by, but the sanctuary's rescue team was hours away. The phone signal in this remote swamp was non-existent, the screen mocking him with no service. Michael was utterly alone. Worse yet, a massive male elephant stood between him and Ravi. Towering and fierce, it bore long, curved tusks like scythes and eyes ablaze with fury. Its skin was caked with dried mud, its huge ears flapped forcefully, and each step shook the ground like a small quake. When Michael edged toward the mud pit, the bull roared, swinging its trunk in a clear threat. It saw him as a danger to Ravi, and Michael knew one charge could crush him instantly. He froze, breath rapid, trying to decipher the animal's intent through its every move. In his backpack, Michael carried only a few meager tools: an old rope, a small knife with a blade under, 4 inches, and a half-empty plastic water bottle. He gripped the rope tightly, his mind racing for a plan. The rope could haul Ravi up, but how could he secure it around the calf without provoking the bull? The knife was too puny to harm an elephant, but might cut through brush or craft something useful. The water bottle, seemingly useless, could it distract the bull? He wasn't sure, but there was no time to waver. The rain intensified, water streaming over the ground, sinking Michael's boots deeper into the muck. Sweat mixed with rainwater, drenching his back, and his body shivered from cold and strain. Yet adrenaline kept him sharp. He recalled a lesson from his college days. Elephants are intelligent. They sense calm or fear in humans. If he could project calmness, maybe the bull wouldn't charge. Taking a deep breath, Michael began humming a low, soothing tune, hoping it would ease the elephant's aggression. The bull paused, ears twitching, as if listening. It didn't advance, but it didn't back off either. Its stare still locked on Michael. It was a fragile chance, and he had to seize it. He inched forward, each step deliberate, boots sinking into the soft earth as if the swamp meant to claim him too. Reaching the pit's edge, he knelt, clutching the rope, eyes never leaving the bull. Ravi was nearly still now, his strength spent, faint breaths puffing from his snout. Michael's heart ached. He couldn't let the calf die like this. He tied one end of the rope around a nearby tree, hoping to anchor it for leverage. But as he peered into the pit, a horrifying detail emerged. Another rope, thick and rough, was coiled tightly around Ravi's hind leg, dragging him deeper. It wasn't his rope. It looked like a poacher's trap. The realization chilled Michael to the bone. He wasn't just battling mud and an elephant. He had to free Ravi from this man-made death snare. The rain became a blinding sheet, thunder drowning all else. Michael drew his small knife, hands trembling from cold and pressure. He had to cut the trap's rope, but that meant getting closer, with the bull looming like a phantom in the storm. "You can do this, Michael. You have to," he whispered to himself. Rope in one hand, knife in the other, he took another step, ready to face his fate, and Ravi's. Without hesitation, Michael secured the rope around a sturdy tree nearby, double-checking the knot. He glanced at the pit where Ravi lay trapped, the calf's small eyes mirroring panic. Not far off, the towering bull stood vigilant, its massive ears flapping gently in the humid air, a sign of its heightened alertness. Michael knew a careless move could unleash its wrath. He inhaled deeply, steadying himself, and began to move. He stepped slowly, placing his feet carefully on the sodden ground to avoid loud splashes. Each time the bull snorted or shifted, Michael paused, watching it sidelong. "Easy now, big guy," he murmured, his voice soft as a prayer. He wasn't sure the elephant understood, but he hoped his calm would resonate. After tense minutes, he reached the pit's edge. Ravi was sunk deep in the viscous mud, only his head and a sliver of his back above the surface. The calf let out a feeble cry, a last plea for help. Michael knelt, his chest tightening at Ravi's plight, but as he leaned closer, his heart sank. Further, an old coarse rope was wrapped tightly around Ravi's hind leg, cutting into his flesh. Blood seeped from the wound, blending with the mud in a faint, terrifying streak. This wasn't natural. It was the remnant of a hunter's trap, a deadly snare Ravi had stumbled into. The situation was far graver than he'd thought. He had to not only pull Ravi from the mud, but also sever that rope. If he didn't, even a successful rescue could leave Ravi with a fatal infection. He shot a quick glance at the bull. It stood firm, its small eyes fixed on him, judging his every move. With no time to hesitate, Michael pulled a small knife from his pocket. It was a multi-tool, its blade sharp but short, not the ideal instrument for the task at hand. He leaned toward the mud pit, trying to reach the rope without slipping. The slick, treacherous mud beneath his feet demanded absolute focus with every movement. He began sawing at the rope, but it was tougher and more resilient than he'd anticipated. The small blade dulled quickly, leaving only faint scratches on the rope's surface. Sweat streamed down his forehead, mingling with the light rain that had started to fall. Suddenly, a roar shook the air. The massive bull elephant took a step forward, its enormous head lowering, tusks glinting in the dim light. Michael flinched, his hand trembling, the knife nearly slipping from his grasp. "Stop! I'm not hurting him!" he shouted, raising his hand as if to calm the giant beast. The elephant paused but continued to emit low, menacing rumbles. Michael's breath came in gasps, his heart pounding. He couldn't afford to lose focus. Ravi needed him. He turned back to the rope, his determination doubling. The rain fell harder now, water streaming over the ground, turning the mud into a slick, viscous slurry. His vision blurred, but he persisted, sawing bit by bit. Finally, after what felt like a hopeless struggle, the blade cut through. The rope snapped, falling into the mud, leaving a raw, open wound on Ravi's leg. The baby elephant let out a weak, relieved groan. But freeing Ravi was only the beginning. Michael stood, wiping rain from his face, He needed to use the rope tied to the tree to pull Ravi up, but how could he secure it around the calf without causing more pain? He looked around and spotted some broken branches scattered nearby. An idea sparked. He could use them to fashion a makeshift harness. He quickly gathered the sturdiest branches, tying the rope around them to create a crude sling. Then, he carefully lowered it into the pit. The rain poured relentlessly, heavy drops pelting Michael's face like tiny stones. His vision was obscured by the thick curtain of water, leaving only faint, blurred shapes of trees in the mud pit ahead. The water in the pit rose rapidly, carrying debris and transforming it into a deadly trap. Ravi, the small baby elephant, was sinking deeper, only his head above the muddy water, his panicked eyes wide, his breath coming in faint, whimpering groans. Michael knelt at the edge, gripping his small knife, trying to stay calm amid the howling storm. He sawed at the rope wrapped around Ravi's leg, one stroke at a time, but each time the blade touched the rope, muddy water splashed up, making his hands slip. "Just a little more, Ravi," he whispered, his voice lost in the rain, but his focus shattered. The bull elephant, a towering, menacing figure, suddenly bellowed, its roar drowning out the thunder. Before Michael could react, the dark shape charged with terrifying speed. He leaped aside, narrowly avoiding a lethal blow, but the slick ground sent him sprawling into the mud. The knife flew from his hand, rolling away and vanishing into the thick sludge. The rope he'd tied to pull Ravi loosened, slipping from his grasp like a death sentence. Michael lay there gasping, rain streaming into his eyes and mouth, mixing with the earthy tang of mud. His heart raced, despair rising. "No, it can't end like this," he muttered, fumbling through the mud for the knife, but it was futile. Bull didn't attack again, but it stood mere feet away, its red eyes glaring in warning. Its presence was like a living wall, blocking all hope. Michael knew that if he didn't act now, Ravi would drown within minutes. He scrambled to his feet, mud up to his knees, still searching desperately for the knife. But before he could do more, another danger emerged. From the forest, a group of local villagers appeared, their figures dim in the rain. Leading them was a tall man with a long staff and a stern face, Arjun, the group's leader. They had been watching from afar and mistook Michael for a poacher trying to harm the elephant. "Stop right there, or we'll call the police," Arjun shouted, his voice cutting through the storm. The others advanced, eyes full of suspicion and anger. Michael turned, drenched and covered in mud. He raised his hands, trying to explain. Through his panic, "No, you've got it wrong. I'm saving him. The baby elephant will die if we don't act now." He pointed to the pit where Ravi was sinking, but his voice was weak, carried away by the wind. Arjun stepped closer, staff raised, his gaze untrusting. "Saving him? With a knife and rope? Do you think we're fools?" Another villager chimed. "Maybe I saw him fall when the bull charged. Maybe he provoked it." Michael shook his head, rain streaming down his face. "No, I swear I'm not hurting him. I'm a biologist here to study, not to poach." He glanced back at Ravi, hearing the calf's faint groans above the rain. "Please look, he's dying. We don't have time to argue." Arjun glanced at the pit, but doubt lingered in his eyes. "If you're not a poacher, why did the bull attack you? What did you do?" Each second felt like a stab to Michael's hope. Exhausted, his body trembling from cold and stress, he refused to give up. "Ravi needs us," Michael cried, his voice hoarse. He realized he'd just named the calf, and it made Arjun pause, frowning. "Ravi? You named him?" "Yes," Michael said, tears mixing with rain on his face. "I call him Ravi. He's not just an elephant, he's a life. Please help me save him." At that moment, a weak trumpet echoed from the pit. Ravi, though exhausted, tried to call out once more, a final plea. The sound silenced everyone, even Arjun, who turned to look. He saw Ravi's small head sinking, his ears flapping weakly in the muddy water. Something shifted in Arjun's eyes. "Are you telling the truth?" he asked, his tone softer. Michael nodded, nearly collapsing from fatigue. "I swear on my life, please, we have to act now." Arjun hesitated, his gaze flickering between Michael and the pit. Finally, he lowered his staff and turned to his group. "All right, we'll help, but if you're lying, I'll tie you up myself." The others murmured in protest, but Arjun raised a hand for silence. Michael exhaled. But he knew the real challenge was just beginning. He rushed to where the knife had fallen, luckily finding it caught in nearby grass. With Arjun and the villagers' help, he retied the rope more carefully this time. Together they pulled, but the mud suction was fierce, like a monster refusing to release Ravi. Michael's hands burned from the rope, but he didn't stop. "Pull harder," he shouted, his voice raw. Arjun glanced at the bull, still watching. "We need more strength," he said, then turned to Michael. "Maybe it can help." Surprised, Michael had no other choice. He approached the bull, hands raised, his voice gentle amid the rain. "Hey, big guy, we need you. Ravi needs you." The bull eyed him, then slowly moved toward the rope. It wrapped its trunk around the rope and pulled with immense power. With its strength combined with Michael, Arjun, and the villagers' efforts, Ravi was slowly lifted from the mud. When the calf lay safely on solid ground, Michael knelt beside him, checking his faint breaths. He smiled wearily and turned to Arjun. "Thank you." Arjun nodded, his eyes now filled with respect. "You're not like a poacher. Ravi is lucky to have you." But Michael knew the fight wasn't over. Ravi's wound needed care, and the rain still poured. He had to get Ravi to safety before things worsened. Realizing words wouldn't convince them, Michael decided to act. Despite the torrential rain and the growling bull behind him, he lunged for the knife buried in the mud, his hands frantically searching through the murky water. Finally, he found it, the blade cold in his grip. Without delay, he returned to Ravi and resumed cutting the rope wrapped tightly around the calf's leg. His hands shook, rain blurring his vision, but his eyes burned with determination. Each powerful cut weakened the rope. His reckless yet willful actions made Arjun and the villagers pause, watching in silence, their gazes shifting from suspicion to curiosity. When the last strand snapped, Michael looked up, his voice hoarse with exhaustion and urgency. "Help me pull him up, please. We don't have much time." Amid the roaring rain, his plea rang out like a beacon of hope. Arjun, after a moment's hesitation, signaled the others. They stepped forward, grasping the waterlogged rope. Michael waded into the pit, standing beside Ravi, using his shoulder to support the calf's small body and prevent him from sinking deeper. Together they pulled hard, the rope taut, the mud resisting every effort. Tense minutes passed, sweat mingling with rain on their faces. Finally, with a wet thud, Ravi was hauled onto the bank. The calf lay motionless, his breath faint from his tiny trunk, but he was alive. Michael collapsed to his knees, panting, still clutching the rope. The bull, as if recognizing Michael wasn't an enemy, slowly backed away. Its large ears twitched, its deep eyes fixed on Ravi, standing still as if waiting. A moment of calm amid the storm, as if nature itself acknowledged the unity that had just unfolded. Michael and the villagers quickly moved Ravi to a drier area, away from the treacherous mud pit. Under the steady rain, he took the last water bottle from his backpack and carefully cleaned Ravi's leg wound. His hands trembled from cold and fatigue, but he patiently tore a strip from his shirt, gently wrapping it around the injury to stop the bleeding and protect it from infection. Moments later, the sanctuary's rescue team arrived, bringing medical supplies and equipment. They took over, tending to Ravi professionally, while Michael stepped back, relieved to see the calf stabilizing. A month later, Ravi had fully recovered and was released back to his herd. From a nearby hill, Michael watched quietly, his heart warmed as Ravi frolicked beside his mother, his little trunk swinging with life. He smiled, thinking the story had come to a perfect close. But nature had one more surprise. On a peaceful morning, as Michael checked equipment at the research station, he heard a familiar trumpet echoing from afar. This time it wasn't a cry for help, but a joyful melody like a meaningful greeting. He stepped outside and witnessed an unbelievable sight. The entire herd, led by the massive bull that had once terrified him, approaching. His heart raced. Were they coming to retaliate for past troubles? But what happened next left him speechless, tears welling up. The bull stopped a few feet away, bowing its head in a gesture of respect. It used its trunk to pick up a small branch and placed it gently before Michael. A simple yet profound gift. Ravi, now healthy and playful, ran to him, touching his hand with his trunk as if to say thank you. The herd then trumpeted together, their calls blending into a natural symphony that echoed through the forest. Michael stood there, tears streaming down his face mixed with a smile, feeling a magical connection he'd never imagined. He hadn't just saved a life, he'd proven that courage and compassion can bridge the divide between humans and animals. The elephants, with their intelligence and deep emotions, had come to express gratitude in their own way, a wordless thank you that touched his soul. This story is a journey of perseverance, courage, and understanding. Michael Harper, once a stranger to the elephants and the locals, became a hero through his determination to save Ravi. He faced not only nature's dangers, but also his own fears and doubts. The touching conclusion underscores that kindness, even in the most perilous situations, can create miracles. It reminds us that animals, though wild, can sense and reciprocate love. The elephant's silent gratitude is a testament to a simple truth. Love and sacrifice are never in vain, and they can forge profound bonds that transcend all barriers. If the story of Michael and Ravi moved you, join us in exploring more incredible journeys about animals and nature on the Animal Kisa channel. Each video is a tale of compassion, bravery, and valuable lessons from the wild. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button to never miss a moment. Together, let's spread the message of loving nature and protecting these amazing creatures.